isn't always true. Sometimes words hurt more than any other broken bone ever will, and it may take a person months, even years to heal. Keeping these words in mind, please welcome Nataya Foss with her original speech.
In all my 4 years at Mariner High School, I've concluded that the MLK Assembly is one of the most powerful assemblies of the year. However, my first 2 years, I noticed a recurring theme in each assembly. Racism was spoken about in past tense rather than present. Until last year, racism was never really pressed upon as a struggle that the majority of us at Mariner experience, witness, or suffer with every day. I want to change the tense that we use to describe racism. If not in the whole world, then at least at Mariner High School. Because the fact of the matter is, racism is active and fierce, and it isn't going away unless we actively make it better than another race. It's not one person discriminating at this point, but a whole population operating in a social structure that actually makes it difficult for a person not to discriminate. Racism is assuming that all Muslims are terrorists because of 9/11. In fact, of all terrorists in the last 20 years in the United States, 129 of them were white conservative Christians and a mere 19 of them were Muslim. Racism is shaming Muslim women for wearing their hijab while praising Catholic nuns for being so devoted. Racism is telling people of color to just stop talking about it. Racism is jokes and slurs and stereotypes. Racism is the denial of ethnic identity. The idea that just because we're in America, we have to speak English, or we have to celebrate Christmas, or we can't wear niqabs, hijabs, or burqas, or that people of color can't solely identify as American without you commenting, "No, where are you really from? What's your real race?" Or that mixed children can't more heavily identify with any one of their ethnicities or cultures more than others. Racism is qualifications and preconceived stereotypes on beauty like, "Wow, you're pretty," for an Asian, for a black girl, for an Indian. Racism is neglecting the fact that it is so much harder to make a living for yourself in this world when you are Latinx. Racism is shaming or making fun of black men, women, or intersex people for wearing cornrows, for picking out their hair, for having afros, or for wearing weaves or extensions. Racism is shaming people of color for having big butts, full lips, curly hair, but then praising and worshiping those features on white women. If you are part of a majority and you are arguing with an oppressed group about what is or isn't offensive to said oppressed group, you lose by default. You don't get to dismiss the voices of people of color when we're talking about issues that have never impacted you or your life. If you are white, you simply don't suffer from the hardships that people of color face daily. If you aren't actively making an effort every day of your life to challenge and demand an end to racism, you are part of the problem. Being told that you said something racist does not make you a racist person. People make mistakes. Evolve. Get educated. Most, if not all, of the senior class this year is going to be old enough to vote next November. And even if you might not think you matter, every single vote towards progress counts. We have to vote for the presidential candidate who's going to best represent, defend, and stand up for people of color. Even if you won't be old enough to vote, you can still make noise and promote and stand up for the candidate who is going to promote justice. The worst part about systemic racism is that people of color begin accepting racist jokes and stereotypes as truth and fact. People of color can't just be expected to stand up for themselves. Be a voice of justice in your community, in your home, and in your school. Most importantly, if we want to end racism once and for all, we have to start a dialogue. We can no longer pretend that racism is a thing of the past, and we have to be able to spot red flags when we come across them in our day-to-day lives. The injustices being done to people of color today are the reason that our education is so dire to the welfare of our future America and our future planet. Do your research. Stay educated. You are the voice of the future. Thank you.